Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Klein and I am currently a senior at Chapel Hill majoring in environmental science and minoring in food studies and computer science. I was a RFC intern in the spring of 2019 and conducted the audit, and in the 2019-2020 school year, I was part of the undergraduate research team dedicated to examining the Real Food Challenge at UNC and sustainability in the UNC food system as a whole, and then researching the present role of RFC at UNC. So in this video, I'm just going to cover the history of RFC on the Chapel Hill campus and the work that the strike team did, and kind of give an overview of sustainability in the UNC food system. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to cover is, what is the Real Food Challenge? The Real Food Challenge is a third-party organization that developed a sustainability metric for the purpose of creating an auditing process for institutional dining systems, which include universities like Chapel Hill. They have this criteria and the guidelines in the picture on the screen now, and they're the 4 categories that include local and community-based, which defines a radius around the university in which food can be grown and considered local. They have the fair category, which includes certifications, one of which is Fair for Life Certified or Fair Trade America. And so if a food is certified with those certifications, it can meet the fair category. Similarly, ecologically sound includes certifications like USDA Organic and Biodynamic Certified. And the humane category includes animal welfare approved. So a lot of these big name certifications in these categories. If a food meets one of these categories, it's considered Real Food B, and if it meets 2 or more, it's considered Real Food A. So this is the guidelines that we're working with, and they're a pretty robust set of standards covering a wide definition of sustainability. So moving the lens to looking at RFC on Chapel Hill's campus. So I have this timeline here. Starting in 2007-2008, the student organization Fair Local Organic, also known as FLOW, formed and approached Carolina Dining Services about signing a commitment to the Real Food Challenge and agreeing to purchase a certain percentage. And in the subsequent years, or in the following years, there were discussions with administration and the chancellor and Carolina Dining Services. And before we even signed on, students conducted an audit and found that CDS already purchased 13% real food, which was pretty great. And then the strike team conducted interviews, and one of the interviewees described a really open, communicative relationship with RFC, where the students could call or email people at RFC and talk about the standards and how they were being implemented and what they thought and how changes could be made to make it even better. In 2016, Chancellor Carol Folt, signed the commitment to RFC, which pledged Carolina Dining Services to purchase 20% real food, or work to purchase 20% real food by 2020. So we've been conducting the audit every single semester, and over time, interns and FLOW are increasingly frustrated with RFC, and there's a lot of tensions and difficulty in communication, but we're still conducting the audit. And then in 2019, the strike team formed with the purpose of investigating the role of RFC on UNC's campus. Is it the best option to define food sustainability at UNC? Are there other options to go about? And then, so in looking at RFC on UNC's campus and how UNC has been doing pretty good in meeting the 20%, the 20% limit that we signed on to. So as you can see here, UNC meets it more often than not in the past several years. And we see that our maximum we ever reached was 29%, which is incredible. And we've been doing really good at meeting this over time. So we have succeeded in great leaps and bounds, and we have started to feel we can push beyond what RFC defines as sustainability. So moving forward, right, we feel that the interns felt and the faculty and CDS are frustrated at the lack of communication with RFC. They changed the standards. They used to have a standard 1.0, and as I described, we saw the 2.1 standards. And when that change was made, nobody at CDS was told, and it had a big impact on our purchasing and certain brands that used to count for us no longer did, which changed our overall percentage. And we were especially frustrated that we weren't told that this change was coming. Another frustration that we had was we disagree over the definition of local food that RFC defines and the North Carolina or the UNC definition. For example, the year I was an intern, we looked into a local bakery that the other interns and I went to visit. It was 30 minutes away and family owned and a really great establishment. But they couldn't count as local under RFC because they were an aggregate product, like a bakery and bread and pastries and whatnot, and all the flour that they used came from the Northeast, the King Arthur Flour Company. But King Arthur Flour is a B Corp, so it already is certified and has gone through an auditing process that shows that it values sustainability in its workers. The B Corp is not a certification under RFC, so overall, the local bakery didn't count. So we felt that this didn't feel quite right and wanted to examine more how UNC could still do its own, like have its own sustainability goals and work within RFC. So the strike team wanted to examine how this might work and if there were other options. So moving forward, the strike team forms, led by Dr. Elizabeth Havis and Dr. Amy Cook, and the overall purpose of the strike team is to take stock of the relationship between RFC and UNC. And the project included stakeholder interviews, interview analyses, a literature review, and a survey. So jumping into the results of the project, we see that the Real Food Challenge actually emerged as the most robust standard. If you look at this table, you can see a couple other standards that we looked into and their primary goals and how their results are reported and recognition and whatnot. And we found that other standards provided less accountability and they had less stringent requirements to meet their standards. And they focused on a narrower part of dining. So they might focus just on waste or greenhouse gas emissions, while the Real Food Challenge covers those 4 big categories that I talked about before: the local, fair, ecologically sound, and humane, which is pretty robust. So knowing that RFC is the most robust standard, we make recommendations later on, which I will go into. So we also conducted a survey and sent it out to students. 98% of the respondents were students, the other 2% were faculty and whatnot. And the most surprising statistic that we found was when students were asked, have you heard of the Real Food Challenge, 71% said no. We also think this statistic could be even higher because 43% of the respondents were students in the environmental studies or science degree, so kind of already thinking about sustainability and looking into sustainability measures on campus. But we thought if this had gone to a wider breadth of majors, that statistic of have you heard of the Real Food Challenge would probably be greater. So we're seeing also this, like, even though we've been committed since 2016 and been really successful at meeting our goal, not a lot of students know about the Real Food Challenge at UNC. In the interviews that we conducted, we found 2 big themes. One of the main themes is that stakeholders identify communications and collaboration as a challenge and as a goal they want to meet. So the strike team concluded that we need to improve and invest in existing relationship with RFC, start to build communication back up. We also want to pursue relationships with other universities and other local actors like Center for Environmental Farming Systems and whatnot. The other big theme we got from the interviews were that institutions and students are invested in sustainability in the North Carolina. Excuse me. Institutions and students are invested in sustainability in the North Carolina food system. So the strike team recommended that that CDS continues communication efforts with students and listen to student input about sustainability. So the strike team's overall recommendations, our big final 3 recommendations to Carolina Dining Services, was to, number 1, hire someone with CDS to manage sustainability and third-party certifications. As of now, the RFC interns change every single semester, so you get new students coming through. The professors have their own responsibilities with teaching classes and helping students, so it can't be at the forefront of their minds. And so for this reason, we think within CDS, there should be a person who manages the commitment to RFC and helps the transition for student interns, and also starts to develop these relationships with other universities and thinking about how we can eventually move beyond RFC. The second major recommendation that the strike team had was to increase communication with students via social media or in the dining halls and whatnot, and really talk about this commitment to RFC and how we're doing so well already and how we want to be doing more. CDS does such a great job of sustainability, and this should be, more students should know about it. Our last recommendation was to stay committed to RFC for now, but like we said, start building relationships with other universities and start working to identify alternatives that meet Chapel Hill's definitions of sustainability. One option we explored was writing our own set of standards, but we talked to other institutions that did that and found that it was really difficult and would require a person within CDS whose job it is to do that. So it could maybe happen if we hired someone, but for now we recommend staying committed, building relationships with other universities. So that's all I have. I will put my email in the section below if you have any questions to reach out. If you want to read the full strike team report that we wrote, I will also put that link in the section down below, because here's the link. The strike team undergraduate students included Leslie Alanis, Florence Brooks, myself, Katie McMahon, Isabel Smith, and Alexis Tammy. Our graduate student advisors were Amy Braun and Andreina Melke, and our faculty advisors were Dr. Elizabeth Havis and Dr. Amy Cook. Thank you so much for listening and being interested in sustainability in the food system at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and have a great day.